With time, you always get further information, and Thomas Tuchel's sacking has been one with a lot of questions, and we're starting to get more answers as the time goes on. We have some more today. Julian Nagelsmann, all of a sudden, apparently he wasn't wanted by Chelsea, and Pochettino is above him in the scale. We're going to find out what is being reported behind the scenes of Julian Nagelsmann rejecting Chelsea or Chelsea rejecting him, because that's what we're hearing, two sides of the story, and why Chelsea believe Mauricio Pochettino ticks the 6 criteria that they have in place. Let's get in. Welcome to the Kavkas View, guys. Look, I think it's very important that we remain very objective and very realistic with the stories that we're hearing from the media. The media is going to inflate and conflate things. We know that. But at the same time, we love this club. We like to know what's going on in the background. And 9 out of 10 times, there is a big element of truth of what is being reported. When we're hearing it, it's maybe a week or so afterwards. We know that Nagelsmann met up with Chelsea on Thursday, and this news only came out yesterday. So as you can see, the ball's rolling, and with time we're going to get more information. But before we get into that, I need you guys to hit the like button, because we're aiming for 2,000 likes on this video. So the way we're going to do this is you're going to hit the like button now, and in the comments below you're going to put what number like you are, because then it lets me know who's actually supporting the channel, and I really appreciate it. Number 2, subscribe to the channel, and number 3, if you want to build this community, follow me on Instagram, DM me with football related questions. I usually respond very quickly, and we can build this community. But now let's get into the juicy stuff. Alright, Braduchy, from the outset, I actually want to say something. I don't think we have bad owners. Bad owners are the Glazers. Bad owners were what Kroenke was initially. I think we have owners that are very impatient and owners that want to get involved and so eager that they're tampering with every little detail, and we're making a lot of quick decisions and the decisions are coming out incorrectly. They're learning on the job. That's one thing I want to say. And one thing they're really struggling with is transitioning the two cultures, US sports and the UK sports. So for example, a story that's been revealed by TalkSport's Alex Crook is that Thomas Tuchel didn't let Todd Bowley and children of his guests into the dressing room against West Ham. And if you guys remember this correctly, I think we were down to 10 men. Conor Gallagher got sent off. And basically, Chelsea had backs against the wall and they somehow managed to win that game. And the thing here is that it is important to realize Thomas Tuchel is a manager that believes, I just want to coach my team. I want to get the best results on the pitch. You guys deal with everything else after. Todd Bowley, Agabali, at that moment in time, had no advisors. They didn't have Stewart. They didn't have Winstanley. They didn't have Viville. They were eager to get involved. They wanted to build a culture. They wanted to build a community within the team. And this is where it glares like the grey area of the understanding. And this is where the fit was doomed. This is where, in my opinion, Tuchel was going to get sacked. And guess what? A game later, Tuchel's gone. I don't believe that this story is made up. This story stinks of facts. And the reason it stinks of facts is because, number one, I think it's not surprising that Todd Bowley would have wanted to enter the dressing room. I don't think that's beyond belief. In the US, it's normal. They have, in their locker rooms, they have journalists come in at the end of games and like literally at the locker have conversations with players about how they think the games went. So it's very normal, and it's just a transition of cultures. There's nothing wrong with that. It's two entities don't understand each other. And more importantly, Mudrik's people at full time entered the dressing room at Crystal Palace, and we've had this reported and it hasn't been denied. And finally, TalkSport have really been very positive about the new ownership group. They've been extremely positive, if anything too positive. In recent times, yes, they've dialed out their tune to a little bit of a segment of, it doesn't seem like they know what they're doing. However, this is due to bad results. Initially, it was very positive, so I am not surprised that this hasn't come out. I am not surprised that they waited 6 months. It's known that journalists sit on stories to release them at a later date where it's a little bit quieter. So, for me, I believe that this played a massive factor in why Tuchel was sacked. Julian Nagelsmann, on the other hand, openly said something. To decline something means you have accepted something. That is what he said to Sky Germany.
And this makes me wonder what really happened behind closed doors, Pete. Because a lot of people have said to me, Alex, you're just reading everything and reading in between the lines. That's what I'm meant to do, guys. You guys come here to hear my opinions on the stories that are written about Chelsea Football Club. I don't have sources. I've told you guys that many times. And the thing is, we're getting two sides of the story now. So we're getting the side of the story that Chelsea did not feel Nagelsmann was the right fit. They believe that they have certain criteria that we're going to get into later in the video, and Nagelsmann didn't tick every single one of them. And one of the reasons is Nagelsmann did not get a unanimous vote within their cohort. The people making a decision, and for me, and from my understanding, it's Winstanley, Lawrence, Viville, Egbali, and Bowley. And I don't know whether it's one of those things where they like Nagelsmann on paper, they met him and they didn't like him. But I'm not going to believe that all of a sudden Nagelsmann just turned into a bad manager in their eyes and that Poch blew them away and that Nagelsmann's CV can't compare to Poch's. That's one thing I'm not going to do. We're getting another side from Germany, and this is a side that's very interesting for me, is that Nagelsmann didn't buy the project. He basically wanted to coach. He wanted to be a manager's manager. He basically wanted to manage the players, coach on a team, and that's it. He didn't want to participate in buying players. He didn't want to participate in communicating upwards consistently. He didn't want to be part of the whole cohort. He literally just wanted to be a football manager. And some would say, you know what, he's within his right. And some would say that he is correct in what he wants to do. However, I am going to say one thing. The role that you're applying for is going to be a role that requires you to do those other things. So we can't get annoyed if the owners and Viville and Lawrence and Winstanley would decide, you know what, maybe we should stay away from this guy. Very Thomas Tuchel-y. That's another thing that we've heard. He's very Thomas Tuchel-y. They were very cautious that they didn't get another version of Thomas Tuchel. I would have loved it. I think he's a good manager. I really do. And finally, and this one really made me laugh a little bit, Nagelsmann didn't think he had to jump through so many hoops. It really annoyed him that he had to answer so many questions. It really annoyed him that he had to have multiple stages of interviews. That's what's being reported. And for me, that says two things. Number one, are the owners being very tedious with how many interviews they're having? Yes. I think one interview should be enough. I think you know his catalogue of work. You have someone that works for you that's worked with him in the past, so his recommendation should be as good as gold. And then once you met him once, you should understand whether you want him or not. But at the same time, I don't know who gave Nagelsmann this ego that he thinks he's the second coming of Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, or Sir Alex Ferguson, that he can't interview twice or three times or whatever they're asking. Because at the end of the day, evidently the job requirement stipulates you're going to have to learn how to communicate upward. And if you're getting frustrated with having 2 meetings, what's going to happen when you consistently have to have this meeting? So I understand for non-footballing reasons why they went away from it. Yesterday, my reaction was in haste. And I think you guys need to understand this, right? When news drops, I'm a fan like you. I don't process everything straight away. In the same way, I'm going to process it 24 hours later, 48 hours later, because more information comes out. When information comes out, less emotions involved because you've calmed down. You start to relax and process it and go, oh, you know what? Maybe I was wrong initially. And I never pretend to know more than you guys. I don't. Because we're all football fans and we're all here for one reason and one reason only. Because we love this club and we want to talk about it. And we want to understand and be more informed about it. Whilst I think Nagelsmann's a great manager, I actually understand why we're not hiring him. And that is not a bad. We need to understand what these owners want, because these owners are the ones that are going to have to back him. What's going to happen if they argued with him in November and they just sacked him? All of a sudden, we're back into a bad loop again of a rubbish manager, most probably Frank Lampard till the end of the season, and we start again. No thank you. Mr. Matt Law came out and dropped his article. Look, we've been getting a lot of international journalists talking about this because it is an international story, right? We had the Spanish media fueling the whole Enrique vibe, we had the German media and the Italian media in Damasio coming out with Nagelsmann and more information around that. We had CBS coming out with Ben Jacobs with a lot of information, and now the British media is like having their 2 cents. And one of the things that we're seeing from Matt Law is he believes that this process will be over in 10 days. So there's almost like a ticking time bomb now. 10 days from now, we should know who our new gaffer is. We went through this before. 10 days never really means 10 days because there is actually no deadline. Like the end of the season is the deadline. But reality, 10 days, nothing changes if it's in 12 days. because we still have 7 games left and Frank Lampard's still in charge till the end of the season, unless something goes horribly wrong and Pochettino or Vincent Kompany or the unnamed manager comes in now. But what Matt Law did do, and I believe this is a brief from the club, is that he stipulated some criterias that Pochettino ticks, and it's very important that the next Chelsea manager ticks these boxes. And for me, it made me laugh because some of these points are actually very good points, and some of these points, in my opinion, are just, you're reaching. Like, you're really reaching here, and you're trying to like find the perfect candidate when there's no such thing. So in reality, apparently he improves players. That is true. My man made Kyle Walker and Danny Rose into the players they became. That Dele Alli, Harry Kane flourished under him. Eric Dyer looked competent. There was a good period of where Wanyama and Dembele were arguably the best pivot in the Premier League. So we know he develops players. That's a fact. Number 2, he's overseen a squad overhaul. They believe that when he took over Spurs, when he took over Southampton, he ran a transfer committee where it basically gets new players in, players leave out, yet results didn't fall. Manages the squads upwards very well, so he manages relationships downwards and upwards very well. He gets along with Levy, he gets along with his players very well. You never hear problems. That's true. Then he won trophies. This is where I chuckle, because I think he won a Coupe de France with PSG, and I don't even think he won a Ligue 1. And this makes me laugh, because the reality is, this is where I lose credibility with disappointment, because I start asking myself a question. Is it a failure not being more successful domestically with PSG? That's for you guys to decide. He's got PL and CL experience. Yep, that ticks both boxes. Very experienced in the Premier League. And finally, this one really stood out. He managed through a stadium rebuild very well. And remember, Spurs played at Wembley a lot, and that's a lot of disruption. And the fact that he's got experience in doing that, the likelihood is we're going to leave Stamford Bridge, or we're going to rebuild Stamford Bridge, so we're going to have to leave Stamford Bridge for a short period of time. I think it's very important that we actually respect the fact that the owners clearly know what they're doing in this recruitment phase. It might not be perfect, it might not be what we like, but there is categories of boxes to tick. And when you actually sit down and think about it logically, right, it's kind of like they're doing the right thing. Like, it's a dragged out process. We're all frustrated because we all want to know who the next gaffer is. We don't want Frank Lampard in charge. So we're just being realistic and we're being honest. Guys, these are my views, and these are views that I have gained from reading other people's articles and just reading between the lines. I don't have sources. I am not someone that's going to be pretending to be an ITK for you just to get clicks and likes. You guys come here for my jokes, my entertainment, and more importantly, because I give it with no filter. Reality is, I'm not going to most probably work for a Sky Sports or a BT or any one of these big publications, because I speak my mind too much. I have said some stuff about certain players not being good enough, certain managers not being good enough, that will most probably just not have people want to work with me. So it is what it is. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know your thoughts, and peace out. I'm out.